Kapinga had lived her whole life in the tranquil village of Kosonga, a place cradled by hills and bordered by dense forest. The villagers were peaceful, spending their days tilling the land, weaving colorful fabrics, and celebrating under starlit skies. Kapinga, a young woman of beauty and grace, was beloved by her people, known for her kindness and strength. She was often seen helping her mother in the fields or sitting by the river, weaving baskets with the other village women. Kapinga had a quiet charm that captivated those around her. Though she was gentle in nature, she possessed a strength that few could rival. Her laughter was a song that lifted the spirits of everyone, especially the children who followed her like shadows, eager to listen to her stories. But beyond her beauty and kindness, Kapinga had a unique destiny awaiting her, one that would change her life and the life of the village forever. One evening, as the sun began to dip below the horizon, an old man dressed in robes woven with symbols of the ancient tribes walked into Kosonga. His hair was gray, and his eyes held the wisdom of generations. The villagers knew immediately that he was not an ordinary traveler. He was a prophet, a man with the gift of foresight, and his presence brought both excitement and apprehension. Word of his arrival spread quickly, and soon a crowd gathered around him, eager to hear what he had to say. When the prophet spoke, his voice was soft but carried a weight that silenced the crowd. He looked upon Kapinga with eyes that seemed to peer into her very soul. "You," he said, "have a future husband. His name will be Bakanza, a man of great courage who will stand by your side in times of trial." His words stirred a deep sense of wonder in Kapinga's heart. Though she had never met Bakanza, the prophecy made her heart beat with both anticipation and fear, for she knew that such a destiny was not given without reason. After the prophet's visit, Kapinga's life took on a new rhythm. Every night, she lay under the stars, thinking of Bakanza, the man who was destined to be her husband. She had never seen him, but she felt as though she already knew him in her heart. She imagined his face, his voice, and wondered if he, too, was thinking of her. It was as though an invisible thread connected them, pulling them closer even though they were yet to meet. Days turned into weeks, and the village began preparing for Kapinga's upcoming marriage. The women gathered to weave new clothes, and the men discussed the dowry that would be given. Kapinga's mother was proud, but in her heart, she worried. She sensed that something dark lingered on the horizon, a shadow that threatened her daughter's happiness. She prayed each night, hoping the spirits would protect Kapinga from whatever trials lay ahead. Kapinga's family, though generally harmonious, had one source of tension, her uncle Mukanga. Mukanga was a man of bitterness, and his heart had grown dark over the years. He was skilled in the old ways of magic, and while some respected him for his knowledge, others feared his powers. Kapinga's mother had always been wary of Mukanga, sensing that his intentions were not always pure. One day, a heated argument erupted between Kapinga's mother and Mukanga over a family matter. The words grew harsh, and Mukanga's eyes darkened with fury. In his anger, he vowed that he would make them regret their disrespect. Kapinga's mother felt a chill at his words, as though a shadow had passed over her. She knew Mukanga was a man to be feared when angered, but she did not realize just how deep his resentment would run. Unbeknownst to Kapinga and her family, Mukanga sought out the help of a powerful fetish, an ancient spirit bound to dark magic. In the dead of night, he traveled to the edge of the village, where the ancient trees cast long shadows over the land. There, he performed the ritual, calling upon the spirit of darkness to assist him in his vengeance. With whispered words and offerings of strange herbs, he cast a spell over Kapinga. In the morning, Kapinga had vanished. The villagers searched for her high and low, but she was nowhere to be found. Her mother's heart was filled with dread, and whispers spread through the village like wildfire. It was as if Kapinga had disappeared into thin air, leaving nothing but memories and unanswered questions. Kapinga had not simply disappeared, she had been transformed. Mukanga's curse had turned her into a cow, and she roamed the fields, unaware of her human past. In her new form, she could not speak or recognize the faces of her loved ones. She was lost in the body of an animal, with only faint echoes of her old life lingering in her mind. The villagers searched for days, but they could not find her. Mukanga, satisfied with his vengeance, took the cow to the city, intending to sell her. He knew that if anyone were to buy the cow and slaughter it, Kapinga's life would end. He smiled with cruel satisfaction, for he knew that by selling her, he would erase all traces of her existence, leaving her family in eternal despair. Bakanza, who had heard of Kapinga's sudden disappearance, was consumed with worry. He had never met her, but the prophet's words had taken root in his heart, and he felt a powerful connection to her. Days turned into weeks, and he searched the village and its surrounding lands, hoping to find any trace of his beloved. He asked the villagers for help, but no one had seen her since the day she vanished. Desperate, Bakanza turned to the forest, a dark and mysterious place where few dared to venture. He had heard tales of spirits and ancient beings who resided within its shadows, and though he feared them, he knew that they were his last hope. If anyone could help him find Kapinga, it would be the goblins and spirits of the forest, who held the wisdom of ages. With a heart full of determination, Bakanza entered the forest, where the trees grew thick and the air was filled with an eerie silence. The path was dark, with shadows moving like whispers between the trees. Every step was a test of his courage, for he knew that the forest was filled with dangers that lay hidden in the undergrowth. Yet, for Kapinga, he would face any challenge, no matter how terrifying. As he ventured deeper, he sensed that he was not alone. Strange eyes glowed from the darkness, watching him as he walked. He could feel the spirit of the forest testing his resolve, and he whispered a prayer to the ancestors, asking for their guidance. The journey had only begun, but he was prepared for whatever lay ahead. The spirits of the forest were not easily swayed. They appeared to Bakanza in various forms, some as animals, others as shadows. They questioned him, asking why he had dared to enter their domain. "I seek my beloved, Kapinga," he told them, his voice steadied despite his fear. "I will not rest until she is found." The spirits challenged him, setting obstacles in his path. They asked him riddles, tempted him with illusions, and tried to turn him back. But Bakanza's heart remained steadfast. Each test only strengthened his resolve, and though he stumbled, he did not falter. He knew that Kapinga's life depended on him, and he would not let her down. At last, after days of wandering, Bakanza reached the heart of the forest, where the goblins resided. These ancient creatures, small and wiry with faces lined by centuries of wisdom, stared at him with suspicion. The goblins rarely offered help to outsiders, but they sensed something different in Bakanza, a love so deep that it defied their understanding. One of the goblins spoke, its voice like the rustling of leaves. "Your beloved has been taken by a curse, cast by one who holds darkness in his heart. She is not dead, but she is close to it." They offered him a map, a twisted path that would lead him to Mukanga, the one who had cast the curse. With the map in hand, Bakanza set out, his heart filled with both fear and hope, ready to confront the man who had stolen his love. Bakanza gripped the map tightly as he left the dark forest. The goblins had warned him that Mukanga was headed for the city, seeking to sell the enchanted cow. Time weighed heavily on him, every step felt like a race against fate. He knew that if the cow was killed, Kapinga's life would end, and with it, his dreams for the future. The path ahead was long and twisted, but Bakanza's resolve grew stronger with each passing moment. Following the directions on the goblin's map, Bakanza entered new territories and unknown lands. The night brought chilling winds, and strange creatures lurked in the shadows, but he was undeterred. He whispered to himself the prophecy the old man had spoken, holding tightly to the hope that had guided him this far. The journey was treacherous, but his love for Kapinga carried him forward. As Bakanza journeyed onward, he began to notice peculiar animals along his path, owls that hooted in strange rhythms, snakes that slithered across his path and vanished, and wolves that watched him from afar with knowing eyes. The creatures seemed to be guiding him, their presence both comforting and unsettling. Each time he grew weary or lost, one of these animals would appear, directing him back to his path. One night, a large black raven swooped down and perched on a branch nearby, cawing loudly. Bakanza took this as a sign, following the bird deeper into the forest until he reached a clearing. There, the raven transformed into an old man, a wise spirit who offered him guidance. The spirit warned him of the dangers that lay ahead and reminded him to remain pure of heart, for only those with unwavering love could break the curse that bound Kapinga. Bakanza came upon a great river, its surface smooth as glass, reflecting the sky above. Known as the River of Reflection, it was said to hold the memories of those who looked into its waters. Bakanza knelt by the river bank and gazed into the depths. Suddenly, images of Kapinga appeared, flickering like dreams, her laughter, her kindness, and the warmth she had brought into his life. The vision filled him with renewed purpose. As he stood to leave, a mysterious figure appeared on the other side of the river. It was Mukanga, the very man he was pursuing. Mukanga sneered at Bakanza and mocked him, saying he would never reach Kapinga in time. With a dark laugh, he vanished into the forest, leaving Bakanza furious but determined. He crossed the river, his heart set on stopping Mukanga before it was too late. The trail led Bakanza to a strange village known as the Market of Lost Souls. It was filled with merchants, travelers, and peculiar traders who sold items from the supernatural world. Bakanza walked through the bustling market, feeling both awe and unease. He searched for anyone who might have seen Mukanga or a cow that seemed out of place, but the villagers were wary of strangers. Just as he was about to give up, an old woman approached him. She wore a long cloak and carried a staff adorned with charms and talismans. She looked into his eyes and said, "I see a curse upon you, young man." Bakanza nodded, and she revealed that Mukanga had passed through the village, selling potions and charms. She warned him that Mukanga's magic was powerful and that he would need the help of the spirits to overcome it. The old woman led Bakanza to the Keeper of Time, a mysterious figure who dwelled in a cave at the edge of the village. The Keeper was said to have the power to bend time, allowing travelers to catch up with those who were ahead. Bakanza entered the cave and was met with an elderly man surrounded by clocks and hourglasses, each ticking with its own rhythm. The Keeper looked at Bakanza with ancient eyes and said, "I can help you catch up to Mukanga, but time has a cost." Bakanza nodded, willing to pay whatever was needed. The Keeper handed him a small hourglass and told him that it would give him a few precious hours to reach Mukanga, but he must return it before the sun ran out, or he would be trapped in the realm of time forever. With the enchanted hourglass in hand, Bakanza left the cave and resumed his journey. The sand in the hourglass trickled slowly, giving him just enough time to close the distance between him and Mukanga. He raced through forests, crossed rivers, and climbed steep hills, the magic of the hourglass bending time to his advantage. Just as the last grain of sand fell, Bakanza caught sight of Mukanga in the distance, leading the cow toward the city gates. Bakanza returned the hourglass to the Keeper of Time and thanked him for his help. With renewed speed, Bakanza continued his pursuit, determined to confront Mukanga before he could sell Kapinga. Bakanza finally reached Mukanga, who was shocked to see him. The two men stared at each other, their eyes filled with years of history and unspoken grudges. Mukanga laughed darkly, mocking Bakanza for thinking he could save Kapinga. "You're too late," he sneered. "Soon, she will be sold, and her life will end with the strike of a butcher's knife." But Bakanza would not be swayed by Mukanga's taunts. He stepped forward, his fist clenched, ready to do whatever it took to protect Kapinga. Mukanga began chanting an incantation, summoning a dark mist around him. Bakanza braced himself, knowing that he was facing not just a man, but a powerful sorcerer with the means to end his quest. As the mist thickened, Bakanza felt a strange force pressing against him, as if unseen hands were trying to push him back. Mukanga's laughter echoed through the darkness, taunting him. But Bakanza remembered the words of the prophet and the strength of his love for Kapinga. He called upon the spirits of the ancestors, asking them to lend him their courage. In response, a warm light surrounded Bakanza, dispelling the mist and weakening Mukanga's magic. Enraged, Mukanga attacked with renewed ferocity, but Bakanza's resolve held firm. He pushed forward, blocking Mukanga's spells and countering with his own strength, the two locked in a battle of wills that would determine Kapinga's fate. As the battle raged on, Bakanza's heart overflowed with his love for Kapinga. He could feel her presence, as if she were beside him, urging him on. This love became a shield, deflecting Mukanga's dark magic and filling Bakanza with a strength he never knew he had. Mukanga, seeing his power waning, tried one last desperate spell, but it was too late. With a final surge of courage, Bakanza defeated Mukanga, knocking him to the ground. The sorcerer gasped, realizing his powers were no match for the force of Bakanza's love. Humiliated and weakened, Mukanga fled, leaving the cow behind. Bakanza approached the cow, feeling a profound sadness mixed with relief. He knew he was close to freeing Kapinga from the curse. Bakanza took Kapinga back to the village, where the prophet awaited them. The prophet welcomed them with open arms, his eyes shining with wisdom and compassion. He knew the trials Bakanza had endured and praised him for his courage. Together, they prepared a ritual to break the curse, calling upon the spirits of their ancestors to restore Kapinga to her true form. As dawn approached, the prophet led a ceremony filled with prayers and chants, calling upon the power of the god. A gentle wind blew through the village, and Kapinga's form began to change. Her fur melted away, and her human form was restored. As the villagers watched in awe, Kapinga opened her eyes, weak but alive, her spirit reborn. The ritual completed, Kapinga stood before Bakanza, restored to her true self. Her eyes, full of love and gratitude, met his, and in that moment, they knew that nothing could ever separate them again. The villagers, moved by the miracle they had just witnessed, gathered around to celebrate the return of Kapinga and the defeat of the dark forces that had plagued their lives. Bakanza held Kapinga's hands, feeling the warmth of her touch, and vowed never to let her face harm again. The prophet blessed their union, proclaiming that their love had proven stronger than any curse or spell. With joyful hearts, the villagers prepared a grand celebration to honor their bravery and their reunion. Songs of love, courage, and the power of the ancestors filled the air as they danced late into the night. Soon after, Bakanza and Kapinga were married in a ceremony attended by family, friends, and all who had supported them through their journey. Their love, now blessed by the spirits and protected by their community, brought peace and prosperity to their village. The dark shadows cast by Mukanga faded, and Kapinga's uncle, realizing the strength of love over hatred, left the village in search of redemption. Together, Bakanza and Kapinga built a life filled with laughter, kindness, and resilience. They became leaders in their community, guiding others with wisdom, and sharing their story as a reminder that love could overcome even the darkest of curses. They were blessed with many children, and their legacy lived on in the tales passed down through generations. In the end, Bakanza and Kapinga lived happily ever after, forever bound by the trials they had overcome and the love that had triumphed over all. And so, their story became a cherished African tale, a testament to the unbreakable strength of love, courage, and the blessing of the god.